The Hills, 20 cents. The Clays, 22 cents. And the Kinseys, 80 cents. Oh. Matthew. Oh. Hello, folks. Don't mind me. I was just going over the ledger. Come right on in. Come right on in. It's a little warmer in here than it is out there. Not much, but every degree helps. Don't mind me. There are no students today. It's probably has something to do with the farm, the season, the cold. This is one of the little conditions that I have to work with, teachers and others like me at the time. We discussed this before, and those of you who have been here before know what I'm talking about. With education being voluntary, the parents will say, really it's the head of the household, will say, today you go to school, today you do not go to school. I never know from day to day who's coming, if anyone. Sometimes the family that I'm staying with, that's part of my pay, I will know because the children are right there if they're coming. And if they're not, I still have to show up to class. If nobody shows, I still have to be here. At least until I'm satisfied that nobody's coming. That's the way that it works. And I was just going over a little list of who owes me what, because nobody else is going to keep a list like this. The Minixes, that's 60 cents. The Peters family, 70 cents. The Wade family, let's see, I should update that one. Yeah, that's 28 cents, 28 cents. And then there's, the Ray family, a full $1. We'll see what happens when it comes to anteing up, shall we say. And I see you're squirming on the benches. For those of you who have been here before, you know what the benches are like. It's not a secret. They are quite uncomfortable. And you know the reason why. The parents own the school. They are responsible for building the school and equipping the school. If they had money for desks, you'd be sitting on a desk. They don't. You don't. It's really quite that simple. Now, well, since we're on the subject, since we're talking about benches, let's talk about benches, shall we? Sure. Now, for those of you at home, you saw the opening graphic, the title graphic, and you saw the opening graphic for the film itself. The benches are quite nice. They were built by a volunteer who volunteered to build the benches for us, for the school. And he did a mighty good job. There are 8 benches total, 4 for the boys, 4 for the girls. The seats are made out of maple. The legs are made out of poplar. And even though they don't have a lot of comfort about them, they are sturdy. There's 8 of them, as I said. And they are staggered in heights. There's the lowest one at the very front of both sides, 2 low ones, 2 intermediate sized ones, and then the one in the back, they're the highest height of all. And there were so many times when people, and not all of them were children either, a good many were adults. They'd come in, they'd sit on the benches and have fun. They'd play, oh, this rocks back and forth. How about that? No matter how many times I tried to say, don't do that, you could hurt your, bam! Self. They'd knock one over with them on it. No one was ever, to my knowledge, seriously hurt. One day, the person who built the benches, he came in to pay a visit to the schoolhouse where I was working and see how his benches were. And it's been so many years ago, I wish I could recall his name. And I'm very sorry I can't. But I did tell him about the quality of the benches, but how nice they were. He was an excellent carpenter, did a very good job. The maple seats were all sanded nice and pretty, well stained, well oiled. I thanked him profusely for his efforts. He obviously knew what he was doing, but I didn't have the heart to tell him because he was so good about doing this for free. I didn't have the heart to tell him that the benches were incorrect. How could a bench possibly be incorrect? Was it the wood? No. The manner of construction? To a certain extent. Here's what I mean by that. As far as the public who visited the schoolhouse was concerned, there's grades. They grew up with a graded system, therefore there are grades. There have always been grades. So many people, when I was explaining, there are no grades here, that's future history. Well, that's not the way it was when I was in school. We had grades. And as much as I wanted to say, you weren't here in 1850, your parents weren't here in 1850, in all likelihood, your grandparents, I couldn't say anything like that. Had to maintained at all times. But yes, there are no grades here. We've already discussed that. But people thought that because there was a little bench in front and a big bench in back on either side and two intermediators, that's where the graded students sat. That's how the visitors, many of them, interpreted this. The kindergartners sat up front. There is no such thing as kindergarten. And then the ones in whatever grade this school went up to, they sat in the back. And then politely I would explain that there are no grades. We've been through this before. And because of that, I couldn't tell the volunteer who did this, I could not do that. But what happens with benches like this, you got to sit somewhere, and if it's on those, then that's where you sit. And it's entirely possible that I could have, matter of fact I do, have some students, let's say they're 8, but they've been here 3 years. Another student shows up, he's 14, never been to school a day in his life. This first day. What do I do? Well, to make my life easy, I'll pair him up with the younger one who's been around for a while. It's this guy who tutors this guy. And where are they sitting? Wherever I put them. And it may be on the front bench. The 14-year-old's legs may be a bit long, but that's not my problem. If this were the real thing, and if there were benches, and I say if because due to lack of documentation, and we've discussed this before, why is there almost a complete lack of documentation? We can't prove that there were benches as opposed to desks. But given the economic straits of the populace, as evidenced by the census forms, it's not likely. If these people have $1 to their name, it's nice. They're probably not going to spend it on building a set of desks. Although it would be nice. And that's why you're on benches and not on desks. It's the good old stuff. Like this. I still have that bill from Farmington Bank of, where was it again? New Hampshire, given to me by one of the parents for teaching his children. And since the bank won't take this because they can't verify it's any good, I have a $1 bookmark. And this is valuable to the extent that it's a reminder I shouldn't be taking money, paper money, from banks that are anywhere near here, and their validity, their honesty, the value of the currency cannot be verified. At any rate, I appreciate your being here, even though there's just us here, and that's perfectly fine. Nothing wrong with that. You are free to stay or go as you please. I have to make a decision. What am I supposed to do? If there are no students here, do I go back to the place where I'm staying, which right now is with the Kinseys? Do I stay here and catch up on some paperwork? It's a bit of a trial to cart all the paperwork from here to the home, from back to school to the next home, back to school, so forth and so on. It's easier to do it here, plus I can build a fire and keep warm. I could even just kick up my heels and get a little bit of relaxation, perhaps. But really, if I wanted to prove my worth to the farmers in the area and the occasional blacksmith and miller, we do have at least one of each of these, having children here at the school, I need to do something productive. And if that means going back to the home who's hosting me and helping out do something, chop wood, it doesn't matter, they will be happy. And I'll be happy too. And with that, I think I'll bundle up and just call it a day here, because it's getting mighty close to dinner time, midday meal, dinner time. And after that comes supper time. And in between, I'll chop wood or do whatever needs to be doing. Thank you very much for coming. I appreciate your being here. Hope you're doing well, the start of the new year. And we'll be seeing you next time, I hope, whenever next time is. If you are new here and want to know what is all this, what's going on, what's happening, you didn't understand a lot of what we discussed here, that's perfectly normal. I don't understand what I discuss here either. And I wrote it. Go back to the first few episodes in this channel and you get a good idea about what education was like in rural areas. This particular rural area is Southwest Virginia, Franklin County, Kempsford School on the banks of the Blackwater River, in the year that the park interprets, 1850. And watch out for going home on the trails. There's some snow out there. Wouldn't want you to trip, fall, hurt yourself, or anything like that. Can't have that. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And, well, I didn't get an overcoat like I wanted for Christmas. But my birthday's coming up not too far in the future. All I can do is hope. In the meantime, I'll be grateful for this scarf that someone gave me for Christmas. Until next time, as our trails meet again, I have the honor to remain your most humble and obedient servant, Dave Diggs, coming to you from, guess where, as always, a long time ago. Be safe, take care, thanks for coming. We'll see you next time. Don't trip, don't trip.